Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond Breakthrough Show, where our mission is to help others break through barriers and unlock their full potential for an abundant life of health, wealth, and freedom. My name is Jean Grosso, and I'm coming to you live from Honolulu, Hawaii.
And I'm Charlotte Land, coming to you from the Phoenix, Arizona area. Welcome, everyone.
Today's topic is glutathione. What is it, and why should I care? And why have I never heard about it before? And why has my doctor don't know? So we're really excited to tell you about a topic that we only just learned a few years ago ourselves. And for me, being in the healthcare, skincare, anti-aging, nutritional, and detox field for 29 years, and Charlotte being a nurse in the field of hospice, palliative care, and neurological unit for 30 years, we collectively have 60 years experience in the health and wellness industry. And I first learned about glutathione just about over 20 years ago when I was in Fort Lauderdale. I used to own and operate a wellness center. And I was doing a speech with a cosmetic surgeon, and we were talking about cleansing and detoxifying the body and nutrition and how we needed that, because we know that science has told us, and it's been around for who knows decades, that there's three main factors of all disease that affect our bodies, and that is toxicity, oxidative stress, and nutrient deficiencies. So all of these three things cause our body to have inflammation and deficiencies, which leads to disease and premature death, actually. So what I found out when I was about 35 years old was I had met a doctor, and he had said, does these detox products that you have detoxify the body from heavy metals? And I said, no, it's never been tested for that. So I went into his office, and he showed me a video just confirming that all disease comes from this toxic and oxidative stress issue that we all face, no matter how good we eat, no matter how much sleep we get, and so forth. So what it showed that, and this was really near and dear to my heart, because I lost my mom to Alzheimer's disease. She had early onset dementia at 58. My dad died of heart failure at 62 years old. So I've been on a mission for 34 years to find ways to prevent and reverse disease. And then I come to find out, I take a mercury test, and I'm 7 pages off the chart with mercury poisoning. Well, what do? Well, your options are glutathione in an IV form, $1,500 a month, and this is over 20 years ago, or oral chelation, $350 a month for 7 different pills that had glutathione in it. So I was like, wow, this is a lot of time, a lot of money. And at that age, at 35, I had 0 symptoms. So I really didn't know anything about glutathione or why I had this toxic burden. And then I realized I had the amalgams in my mouth removed for composite for aesthetic reasons, but that's what could have dumped all this mercury. And then I come to find out that people with root canals, same thing, any kind of cavities in your mouth, even braces, any kind of metal causes this burden in your mouth. It's this slow, long thing. So what are you going to do about it? The only option you have is to detox on a cellular level. So all we had until now was this glutathione in an IV form. Now, the problem with glutathione in an IV form, and why even your doctor doesn't even know what glutathione does, even if they administer IV glutathione, is that the half-life of glutathione is only 90 minutes. So that means every 90 minutes it halves. So Charlotte, can you touch on that part about the glutathione in an IV form, the liposomal form, and the pill form? That's all we had on the market to address glutathione, upregulating glutathione. So can you talk to that, being in the medical field, seeing the IVs in the emergency rooms and so forth?
Yeah, so there prior to now, and we'll get into that a little bit, the technology that we came to become aware of, but prior to now, the only ways really to get glutathione effectively, so to speak, into the cells was actually through IVs, which is actually in the blood. And there's a difference between in the blood and in the cells. So the blood has to break down our nutrients. Our digestive system breaks down nutrients, and then from there, those nutrients go into the bloodstream. And then the bloodstream has to break that down into so that the cells can uptake the nutrition. So what we have, you know, prior to all this is that we're constantly bombarded with toxins from the environment, from our food, from our water, from the air that we breathe. And what happens is, and our foods, as we know, are nutritionally deficient. People are drinking a lot of sugary drinks. They tend not to drink water, which is what we should be drinking. But anyway, to go to the IV form of glutathione, it's you know, in an ultra pure water, not the same as what we're going to talk about here, but it's IV pure water where glutathione's put in there, and we use it in the ERs, or you'll see it used in the emergency departments for people who have had most typically like a Tylenol overdose. Tylenol, or the generic for it, is acetaminophen. It's very highly liver toxic, and if you take too much of it, and the FDA considers 4 grams or greater too much. So we always, as practitioners in the health field, stay below that 4-gram mark, or 4,000 milligrams in treating pain. But many people don't know that there's a maximum daily limit. So sometimes they can end up in the emergency department with liver toxicity because of acetaminophen or Tylenol overdose. So what they do is they'll administer the IV solution, but what happens is the blood, it takes it into the bloodstream where water and blood flow into the circulation. The blood has to break it down into smaller size pieces, okay, so that the cells can uptake it and take in those nutrients. So you're dependent on your body to do all these steps before the cells can intake it. Now with liposome, and then, you know, mind you, IVs are very expensive. And then if you are even into the ED with an emergency room bill, it's just going to cost you $3,000 or $4,000 just to walk in the door. So an IV therapy, continual with IV glutathione, is really not sustainable for most people financially. Now you have the liposomal. You have a liposomal, you might have a tincture, you might have a solution that they're saying, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, before now, it probably was the best way to get glutathione in, but you're talking about a liposome. It's a fat encapsulation. So there's 2 things I see with that issue, and many of our voluntary medical board members see a big problem with that issue. Number one, the fat doesn't, the cell doesn't like the fat. It doesn't like to take in fat. It's a membrane that really much rather receive water. But if the fat, the liposomal fat does get in, number one, it makes the nano size greater. So it makes it harder to get into that cell because it makes that nano bigger, and our cells don't have as easy time of intaking or uptaking it. And then you have it that it's a fat. So if it does get into the cell, once it gets into the cell has a hard time getting that out. So you can become toxic with the liposomal. Then we have the tablet form or capsule form, in which we've been told, study after study, thousands of studies have said, if any glutathione gets into the gut mechanism and isn't in it, it would be pretty much close to a miracle. Because what the studies show is that when you take a capsule or a pill form of it, the gastric contents, the gastric juices in the stomach will destroy it before it can ever even be broken, you know, like fully absorbed into the system. So you have 3 issues of availability, cell use, that has really been a problem up until this time. So what Jeannie was talking about, and the hydrostat molecular encapsulation that we've come across, and I'm going to just preface this by saying And you mentioned before, Jeannie, that doctors and nurses don't know about this. They don't know a whole lot about glutathione in general. Some doctors feel it's related to glucosamine, which is the farthest thing from what glutathione is.
Yeah.
And then, because we're only given about 1 semester. If you think about a semester in college, that's about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months of nutrition and how nutrition can help with disease. But we're not taught that. We're taught about what's the disease process and what pills, pharmaceuticals can we provide or prescribe for them to help with that symptom. But very few people have I seen be cured by any pharmaceutical drug or modality that is, I can't say I've ever seen it in my whole 30 years of, doing nursing. Did I see a pill or pharmaceutical cure anything? Now, while we're not claiming to cure or mitigate disease here, we are actually educating and sharing with people, right, Jeannie, that this way of supporting our body on a cellular level. So now we're going to segue into talking about the water encapsulation and the nano sizing the technology that we found has been absolutely remarkable. And the thousands and thousands of testimonies that are pouring in of people, everything from progressive neurologic diseases to skin conditions, are really aiding the body in the healing process. And this is really giving hope for people who have suffered for years and years with inflammation and pain and the suffering of bearing a disease. And even some people identifying themselves with that disease. I have diabetes, I have this, I have, all these conditions. And we start to identify, oh, I can't do that. And we let it limit us in our quality of life, and we allow it to age us. And so now we're here to help provide that information, provide that hope for people that are looking for solutions, natural health solutions, very economical solutions to their problems. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of some of the other forms that we're seeing of glutathione, but really are not effective, and the cell can't use it to its maximum potential. Because when we see the cell using it to the maximum potential, like I said, we're seeing vision improvement, hearing improvement. I mean, everything, the 5 senses, taste buds improving. People who've been through treatment for the big C word, right? Where you're getting basically IV poison or oral poison to try to kill those C cells. We can't talk about this openly, but what we see is people being well supported and being able to reverse their disease naturally on their own by taking this beautiful God's miracle molecule.
Yeah, it really is. I call it the holy grail and the foundation of health and the fountain of youth. And if there was ever a one-hit wonder, it would be glutathione. Because one of the things we learn, and most doctors that even administer IV glutathione, unless they study it like our founder did and put millions of dollars into research on how to get glutathione into the cell, the breakthrough is such a breakthrough of great proportions, because not only did they reduce the particle size of glutathione into 10 nanometers, so that can easily penetrate the cell membrane. Okay. I mean, a cell's 100 nanometers in diameter. So not only that, they encapsulated it into an ultra purified water molecule, which the cells look for, water, because that's what makes up our cells. I mean, our entire body overall is what, 85, 95% water, depending on if you're looking at the blood or the brain or different organs, it's made out of water. So it only makes sense. And that's why we're getting instant absorption and cellular utilization, and nobody else in the world can even claim that. So just one of the things that you don't go to your doctor and say, have you ever heard of glutathione? Because they've heard about it, but they don't know anything about it. So this is why going to your doctor and asking about if you can take a glutathione supplement is completely useless. And not only that, if they administer glutathione, they don't know much about it. So here's the quick version about what is glutathione. So we told you why you don't know about it, because your doctors don't know about it. So when approaching a doctor, then it would be best to introduce them to somebody who does know about it, because there is a program specifically designed for doctors to administer this form of glutathione in a liquid that you simply swish in your mouth like mouthwash and swallow it, and then spray it on your skin, and it goes through every layer of the skin. But the benefits of glutathione are so grand that glutathione molecule itself is the most studied molecule in medicinal science, microbiology, and biochemistry. So basically, if you ask a scientist what is glutathione, they know what glutathione is, but your doctor does not. And even if they administer the glutathione, they don't know to this extent. So what you can do is you can go to pubmed.gov, which is the National Library of Medicine, and put in glutathione. And at this point in time that we're cutting this video, that you will find 186,000 peer-reviewed publications on glutathione. Not only that, you can put in glutathione in autism, glutathione in cancer, glutathione in COVID, glutathione in Alzheimer's disease. You can put it in and look at the thousands of articles, and they're not even talking, they're talking about just the molecule glutathione. And remember, the only form that they can even do a study on is in a liposome. Okay, so like they're not even talking about our breakthrough technology that never even exists before. They're just speaking of the molecule glutathione. And if that's not enough, because it is hard to read those publications, they're very medical, technical. I've gone through a few of them myself. I'm like, I can't read this. So you can just Google, say, what are the top 10 benefits of glutathione? And there you're going to find every disease that you fear the most. 78 classes of disease are all due to low glutathione levels, and low glutathione levels lead to disease. So it's a vicious cycle that you can never get out of. So no matter what you take in supplements, no matter how healthy you eat and grow your own vegetables, and they say cruciferous vegetables, you can't eat enough vegetables to get your glutathione. And then there's some other factor to consider. There's a genetic condition called MTHFR, and most people don't even know they have it. And a huge percent is increasing. There's another genetic condition called the APOE4 gene, and that basically is the Alzheimer's gene. And that I don't know if I have either one of those. You can go get expensive genetic testing and you can find out, but what difference does it make? You still need to take the same precautions as you do in preventing any disease that you want to do. And that's what we specialize in. So we know what we have to do. We know we need to upregulate our glutathione levels. Glutathione's already manufactured in every single cell of your body. It's 1,000 times more manufactured in the liver cells. Why? Because one of the top 3 functions of glutathione is detoxification and chelation of heavy metals. Okay, so in every detox product, they might not have had glutathione because they could never figure out a way to get it in the body. They might have had precursors like NAC or zeolite or other things that they call it as precursor. But, you know, when you think about all the functions of glutathione, 400 functions, 15 are critical for all oxygen-based life on Earth, all people, babies too, okay? Older people, you can always use glutathione. As a matter of fact, you can't overdose glutathione. You can overdose vitamins and minerals. You can do too much that it becomes toxic, a natural substance. If you eat too much of the wrong food, you can obviously toxify yourself. But glutathione is already manufactured in your cells. So as you age, the glutathione levels deplete, and that's what causes premature disease and death. Okay, that's what death is. When your glutathione levels are low and low, you're done. You die. There's nothing else that you can do other than you can still breathe and be on life support and get oxygen. All right, but you're not going to have any kind of brain function without glutathione. So if you want
really, if you think about it, and glutathione is the only thing that binds oxygen to the red blood cells. you're not going to be living very long. And actually, real quick to dovetail with what you're saying, they did a COVID study. They did autopsies on thousands of people who died of actual COVID. They had 0 glutathione levels in their bodies. And that's a real hard thing to even measure anyway, because it's actually in the cell. But whatever mechanism or test they did to find out, they found that they had no glutathione. So what does that tell you? They had nothing to defend their immune system. They had nothing to defend against the inflammation of the disease on the lungs. It did nothing. I watched protocols kill people, not the COVID. I watched protocols, the treatment of the disease kill people. So, or contribute to their passing. I can't say,
You can say whatever you want on our show.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, watching kidney functions diminished to the point where kidneys were no longer functioning. Yeah. And for every single one of those processes, it's dependent on glutathione. So I would have loved to have seen patients at least be put on IV glutathione while they're in the hospital, right? But I do see that there are some families now that are incorporating the use of glutathione in the hospital rooms.
Yeah.
And letting their doctors know, it was like, well, I got to ask my doctor. Well, are you asking your doctor if you can go on vitamin C? We would never not tell you to not ask your doctor, of course.
Right.
But do you ask them to take vitamin C? Do you ask them if you need to take a multivitamin?
It's not their scope.
Right. People will go ahead and take it's a supplement. Just like you would take any of these others. I don't ask my doctor. No, some people do ask if they can take vitamin C.
Okay, they don't ask their doctor when they go through the drive-through or go to Starbucks. Do they ask their doctor that when that causes all the toxic problems?
And their doctor would tell them, stop going to the drive-through. Stop all that caffeine. If he's a good doctor, he's going to teach you about and educate you about your nutrition. That's a first and foremost line of defense. And then supplementation. If we're not supplementing, because anyway, we can go on. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's why glutathione is so critical. It's critical for our life, our body's ability to heal itself, and for prevention. It boosts the immune. It's the master antioxidant, which means that it combats all the other. It recycles all the other antioxidants. So if it combats oxidative stress, but if without glutathione, your vitamins you might as well be flushing them down the toilet because they're not going to get absorbed. They're not going to be recycled. And that's why you cannot overdose with glutathione. And I love what you added, that in an emergency room setting, people that overdose on acetaminophen and Tylenol, I'll never forget. I read an article about that. I asked my own doctor the last time I ever went to a doctor, which was probably years ago. And I had asked her about Advil or something. And she said, people commit suicide with Advil because they can't get their hands on sleeping pills. So more teenagers. And I said, what? I had never heard that. And I remember asking you about that. And you said, yes. And guess what they give them at the ER to neutralize the toxicity from those poisons? And that is glutathione. Now, the hospitals need to be getting this product because they could be administering it under the tongue. They can, even if someone can't swish in their mouth, they can be putting it under the tongue in a dropper or a sprayer. So we have something that is just so critical. Not only does it need to be in everybody's medicine cabinet from to have on hand extra, but it needs to be taken every day. And the best benefits are you can decide how often and what time you take it throughout the day without interrupting any of your schedule. It's so easy. 30 seconds, a couple of minutes, you swish in your mouth and you swallow it, and you get instant cellular utilization. Whether you see it or feel it or not is irrelevant because it's inside the cell. You don't feel your immune system boosting. You don't feel your cells detoxifying. You don't feel or see any inflammation going away. But here's the instant benefits: immediate cognitive functions, brain fog, all these things clear up. That's for me anyway. Immediate energy, but like a very clean energy. quicker recovery, performance. Athletes, this is like the holy grail for athletes because they always need to recover faster so they can perform better. And a matter of fact, let me just say, on the athletes thing, even though this isn't the athlete talk, that'll be maybe our next show, but there's a study done with our product because athletes know about IV glutathione. They know that Olympic and pro athletes know about IV glutathione. And so do movie stars. They have IV vans that go around Hollywood to inject them with an IV drip because it's a beauty thing and the cognitive, and they have to remember their lines. So, and they have to have the energy. They're on the set for 12 hours a day, you know? So, and then surgeons need glutathione because they're performing surgery for hours and hours on end. So, and then the people that have severe disease get like heavy metal poisoning or cancer, you know, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, they know about glutathione because they're getting IVs to improve the cognitive function, to get better cellular function. Well, a study did with our product, our nano-sized glutathione in water molecules, and they reduced the onset of lactic acid. They measured athletes, endurance athletes, and they reduced the onset of lactic acidosis by 16.7%. That gave them an extra 2 kilometers. The closest thing to that was like reducing lactic acid 4%, like not even closely. So they're reaching their personal best, they're recovering quicker, and that's critical for athletes because they're taking in the toxins at such a greater rate just by inhaling and breathing. And then the ones that are running and doing biking on the streets with the exhaust, I mean, like, what are they thinking? Not to mention it lowers your nutritional tank. So, and then the COVID whole section, I mean, that whole thing, we could have saved millions of people's lives because if there's no oxygen transfer from the blood into the cell, and that's what glutathione does, it binds to the hemoglobin, so it brings the oxygen. Without that bond, you're out of oxygen in 3 minutes, you're dead. And you're out of glutathione in 3 minutes, you're dead. It's the same thing. That's how critical it is. But yet doctors that administer glutathione, as it's like on their menu, $200 a pop, you know, they don't even understand the magnitude. There shouldn't be a patient that walks out without our product. They don't even need an IV. Okay, I mean, just real quick, can you touch on, like, I don't like needles. Like every time you poke your skin, what are the chances? Like, I mean, speak about this. There's people that go get injections for cosmetic reasons. There's people that get IV vitamins and minerals and glutathione, and they don't think there's anything wrong with getting poked in your skin and having an outside substance that you don't even know what preservatives are in that IV bag or in that solution that keep whatever's in there. I mean, can you speak to that?
First of all, taking it IV is a very unnatural way to take it. Okay, we have to give it in the IVs if we want a quicker result. We give IV antibiotics, obviously, IV medications, IV heart medications, those types of things. But it's a very unnatural way for the body to have to take it in. So so that's number one. Number two, it's a portal straight into the body. There's always a chance of infection if that IV isn't started correctly, if it's not good, what we call aseptic technique to make sure it's very clean before you go in. And then you got this IV running into your vein that isn't the greatest for your vein, pliability. So you're doing things more unnaturally. You're giving yourself a greater risk for infection. It's a portal, like I said, a tube right into the body, just like, a urinary catheter tube or tubes that come out, drainage tubes. So there's two downfalls right there. They can be very painful. They're long, they're lengthy. You got to sit and wait. For me, time is money, time is precious. And so if I got to sit, rather I could be, getting ready in the morning and swishing around and getting dressed and gathering my things for the morning as I'm swishing, so it doesn't take any extra time out of our schedule. It's a very convenient, more natural way for the body to absorb it on its own more naturally through the submucosal, sublingual. And I have to say, it made total sense for me this form, because working in hospice and palliative care, especially at end of life, when we're talking about hospice patients, we administer medications. They don't have to have the ability to swallow, to be able to take the morphine and the lorazepam or Ativan under the tongue and let it sit there and absorb into the gum line, into the bloodstream. That's a more natural way. And so when this came out, when you told me about it, I about fell off my chair going, that totally makes sense. You know, it gets into the bloodstream. It's very quick. It's very fast acting. So we've been able to solve the problem of IV solutions, the expense to it, the time it takes, the portal straight into the body, which is not natural. We're eliminating the risk of infection. Of course, glutathione helps build our immune system. So, I mean, the likelihood of infection, but you hear people getting injections in their face and they've got huge scars now because it created a pockmark or it hit a nerve ending going in. And now we have one lady whose face is kind of sideways because they hit a nerve on the way in to give a filler or Botox is botulism. I mean, you're giving yourself a medication to paralyze your muscles. We are crazy. We are insane for doing this. And, you know, I have to say, I was one of those insane people. And I haven't taken an injection or a filler for years. Well, ever since starting the new me. So I'm really grateful because from the inside out and the outside in, we're getting all the nutrients our skin loves to absorb it, sucks it right up because it's water technology and it's ultra pure, 30 to 40%, 400 times more pure than IV water. Listen to me, folks. I mean, not just to me, but we have 19 medical directors on our board that are volunteer because they believe in this mission and vision. They believe in the technology. They've seen what it's done under a microscope. Guys, this is the best thing since sliced bread. I have to say this is probably a greater invention than penicillin itself. Yeah,
it's
right.
Critical for our life and our body's ability to heal and longevity. Yes. And I plan on living, I'm 55 now. I plan on living for at least to 100, God willing. And now that we have the technology to do it, and all the biohackers out there, they are just amazed because they know this is the foundation, and then we can build off that. It doesn't mean we're in competition with no one. We are the foundation. Still go ahead and take your vitamins and your minerals and your nice skincare, that as long as it's clean and it has good ingredients, you can do all that. You'll find, like we did though, after amount of time of, you know, swishing with this product 3 to 4 or 5 times a day, depending on your age, your body weight, and your health condition, that's how you can administer it yourself. Like if you need more energy or you need better sleep, or you need, you're doing an event or you're doing a speech where you have a lot of stress or you're under a lot of stress attack, you need more of the glutathione. On some days, like if you're on vacation, you might need less. So I don't know, Charla, we have something that is just so powerful. I love to see how people are recovering their health and they're looking better too. But what's more important is we're saving people's lives with this technology. And this is only one of the products. We actually have 3 products now that have glutathione in it, but it's a 2-part system. One you swish in your mouth, one you spray on your skin. It works from the inside out, the outside in. That system every single person has. My son's been using it for the last few years. He's now 15. I mean, this is amazing for kids that have breakouts as well, because you know, healthy skin comes from within. So the healthier diet that you have, the more water you drink, and then when you take the proper balance of nutritional supplements, then you will see it on the outside. So those that don't see it on the outside yet, they need more and they need to change some other lifestyle choices. But we have the most economical, efficient form of glutathione in the entire, and effective form of glutathione in the entire world. And it's just a beautiful thing. So join us next time for our next topic, and we will close out today's podcast. And God bless you, and see you next time.
See you next time.